Everyone told me time heals all wounds. But what if time is actually the cruelest joke grief ever played on you? Because here's the thing, losing someone doesn't come with a manual. And the advice that actually saved me didn't come from a therapist, a book, or a motivational poster. It came from my uncle, 3 days after my grandmother passed, when I was sitting on the kitchen floor eating cereal at 2 in the morning like a man who had completely lost the plot. He sat down next to me, didn't say a word for a full minute, and then quietly said, "Grief is not a problem to be solved, it's a presence to be hosted." I want you to sit with that for a second, because when he said it, I almost laughed. It sounded like something you'd find stitched on a throw pillow at a boutique hotel. But then it hit me like a freight train somewhere around week 3, when I kept trying to get over it and kept failing spectacularly. The advice came from a grief counselor my uncle had seen after losing his own father, a man named Dr. David Kessler, who literally co-wrote the book on grief alongside Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Kessler has spent decades arguing that we've been culturally conditioned to treat grief like a cold, something temporary, inconvenient, and best handled by pushing through it. And we do that, don't we? We compress it, schedule it around work, apologize for crying in public, and then wonder why we feel hollow 6 months later. The idea that grief is a presence to be hosted reframes the whole thing. Instead of fighting it, you make room for it, like an uninvited house guest you've decided to feed anyway. Before I heard that, I was doing what most people do, performing recovery for everyone around me. I was saying I'm okay on day 5, cleaning out her belongings on day 10, and having a complete breakdown in a grocery store at the sight of her favorite crackers on day 42, which, for the record, is an absolutely humbling experience in aisle 7. Here's the historical irony. Humans have been grieving for as long as we've existed, and somehow every generation still treats it like a surprise. Ancient cultures built entire rituals around hosting grief, mourning periods, black garments, communal wailing, and somehow modern productivity culture decided we could optimize our way out of loss in 2 weeks. And a LinkedIn post about resilience. The misconception most people carry is that grieving too long means something is wrong with you, that you're weak or stuck or not healing correctly. But Kessler's framework, and really most serious grief research, tells us the opposite. The people who suppress it hardest tend to pay the steepest price later in their bodies, their relationships, and their sense of self. So what does hosting grief actually look like in practice? Because it sounds beautiful in theory and slightly unhinged on a Tuesday morning before your first meeting. For me, it meant letting myself talk about her out loud, without rushing to the punchline, keeping her photo where I could see it instead of putting it away to move on, and telling people honestly, I'm not okay today, instead of performing okayness like a trained professional. The practical lesson here is small but powerful. You don't have to fix the feeling. You just have to let it exist without evicting it prematurely. Think of it like portfolio management for your emotional life. You don't panic sell in a downturn. You hold, you breathe, you trust the long-term process, even when the short-term looks absolutely catastrophic. There's also something quietly radical about admitting that grief changes shape but doesn't fully disappear. And that's not failure, that's love with nowhere to go. My grandmother has been gone for 4 years now, and I still host her sometimes at holidays, at milestones, in the smell of a specific hand lotion that I will never buy for myself, but always stop to smell in the drugstore like a completely normal person. The broader cycle here is ancient and humbling. Every human who has ever loved something has had to learn this lesson from scratch, because grief is not transferable knowledge, it's experiential. You can read every book Kessler ever wrote and still find yourself undone by a voicemail you forgot to delete. What the advice gave me wasn't closure, it gave me permission. Permission to grieve loudly or quietly, quickly or slowly, messily or with strange dignity. And that permission, I'd argue, is the most underrated gift one person can give another in the middle of loss. The philosophical punchline, if there is one, is that we spend so much energy trying to stop feeling the loss that we accidentally stop feeling the love too. Hosting grief means you're still in relationship with the person you lost, just in a different form. One that requires a little more imagination and a little less efficiency. So if you're in it right now, or if you know someone who is, Maybe pass along this idea not as a fix, not as a timeline, but as a small reframe that might make the unbearable feel just slightly more bearable. Grief is not your enemy to defeat. It's your love with its shoes off, settling in, reminding you that what you had was real. If this kind of video resonates with you, hit subscribe and explore all the other topics we've covered. There's a lot more where this came from.